Welcome to the At the Coalface podcast with your host, Jason Greenwood. This podcast is all about what it's really like in the trenches of digital and e-commerce. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the pod. It's my pleasure to welcome Dennis Kelly from Postalytics to the pod today. Welcome, Dennis.
Thank you, Jason. Very excited to join you here today.
I'm super excited to have you here because you are the CEO and I believe founder of Postalytics, which actually was an outgrowth or a pivot of BoingNet originally. So you've been doing this for over 8 years in total. I'm super excited to have you on because Postalytics is it's a SaaS platform, which we cover off a lot of, e-commerce and omni-channel SaaS platforms on the podcast, but your platform is totally unique. It's nothing I've ever come across before in the market, and I'm super excited to have you on to talk about it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I've been at this for 8 years. I do have a co-founder, our CTO named Alec Graziano. We've been hard at work at disrupting the old school marketing channel known as direct mail for quite a while, and super excited to talk about Postalytics.
Fantastic, mate. Well, it's awesome to have you here. You're based in Massachusetts, and I'm guessing that you primarily, with your platform, you target North America, the North American market. But what I love, at least from what I can gather, both looking at your website and obviously your profile on LinkedIn and the couple of conversations we've had to date, what it looks like is you've effectively found a way to turn direct mail, i.e. postcards and physical mail, in other words, snail mail, you've managed to convert it into more of a digital marketing channel that actually integrates with existing digital marketing workflows. Is that right?
That's exactly what we're all about here. And really ran across this idea a few years ago, and we discovered that there's really three key problems with traditional direct mail, at least in the minds of the more digitally oriented marketer. First, the production time is too slow, too painful, too manual. Second, it's completely not integrated with all the other marketing channels that digital and email marketers are focused on. And then third, it's always traditionally been very hard to measure, like what the heck has happened after you send the mail. And so those are really the three core problems that we're trying to tackle here with Postalytics.
Great to hear. And when I look at your website and some of the use cases that you put forward are super interesting, where you talk about being able to create these workflows around multi-channel, multi-touch, omni-channel that are part of your existing email workflows. Say, for example, let's say you're running HubSpot or Salesforce, and I'm guessing you possibly even integrate with Klaviyo and other marketing automation platforms, because obviously BoingNet was a marketing automation platform. So you do understand that marketing automation, you do understand digital marketing, you do understand workflows. And when you start talking about, for example, kicking off the onboarding process with a personalized thank you note, which at that point would be it's actually a physical thank you note at that point, or it's a physical welcome letter from an executive or a salesperson. And I'm guessing, if somebody abandons a cart or, a shopping cart, you can send out a letter to them, a physical card, a physical postcard saying, hey, thanks for browsing our website. You can incorporate, I guess, physical mail almost like it's digital mail, but because physical is, it has unique properties around it. We get less and less physical mail every year now. And as a result of that, the physical mail we do get stands out perhaps more than it did, say, 5-10 years ago, right?
That's exactly it. What's happened over the last decade is that the volume of physical mail being processed, by the postal services of all of our countries has dropped by roughly 30 to 35% on a global basis, while at the same time, the number of emails and digital messages that we're exposed to on a daily basis has exploded on an exponential basis. And so the relative impact of every single one of those pieces of mail that you receive, that you pick up and touch, and whether you decide to read it or open it or throw it away, you're physically handling this message is far greater than it used to be back in the era of what we call junk mail, when mail was the primary channel and it was just being stuffed with all sorts of messages and nobody could even deal with it. Sort of flipped. And now, your email inbox is a several hour a day process of deleting and mass deleting. And what we've done is we've made it really easy to leverage the investment you've made in email marketing with drip campaigns and automated workflows, and then plug direct mail into those workflows that you've already built. So if you've invested a lot of time and money into building out automated email marketing campaigns, and you've got a lot of expertise in email marketing software, you can leverage that and just plug in another channel to augment your existing marketing efforts.
Great idea. It's actually something that, I hadn't really ever considered, being a almost pure digital / e-commerce omni-channel guy, bringing physical mail and because we obviously talk about EDMs now, which is your email marketing. And we talk about extreme segmentation. We talk about CDPs, customer data platforms, particularly with the death of third-party cookies and the changes in iOS and the need to gather really good, solid zero and first-party data and incorporate that into your segmentation, bringing CAC into it, cost to service, and getting hyper granular with our segmentation, and therefore getting to that closer to that holy grail of that one-to-one marketing. I guess this takes it one step further and starts to incorporate some of those more personalized touch points that feel more personal, right? When you receive a letter that's addressed to you, it's a physical or a postcard that's physically addressed to you. It feels more personal. It feels like there was more effort put into sending that. Well, for a fact there was more effort put into physically sending that versus an email, which is, push a button and send a million emails. So I guess that concept is really what you've brought to the table. Now, when we take that one step further, what marketing automation or CDP platforms, et cetera, do you already integrate with? Or is it a case of generally, a dev house or a brand would then integrate via API your platform into their marketing automation platform and plug it into their workflows via API?
Yeah, great question. So we've built out direct integrations into several of the leading CRM and marketing automation tools. When we launched, we decided to really hone in and focus on the HubSpot customer base. And so we built a very deep integration with HubSpot. We followed that up with an integration with Salesforce, Sales Cloud. We've also built out a great integration with Zapier, which is then being used to integrate with dozens of other types of programs through Zapier, which if you've spent any time in that ecosystem, it's just amazing. Virtually anything that can tap into Zapier can send mail through Postalytics. We've also recently rolled out integrations with ActiveCampaign, with Keep Infusionsoft. And as of last week, we just launched our Zoho CRM integration. And we're going to be following this up with direct integrations into Shopify and Klaviyo very shortly, and as well as MailChimp and several other platforms. We've been really investing heavily in building out an infrastructure that will allow us to quickly add more integrations through the rest of 2021 and throughout 2022. So we've built these direct integrations that you can use. We've also built out a fully functional and easy to adapt API. So if you do have internal dev resources, you can drop Postalytics right into other existing workflows. And then finally, we've created a way to integrate Postalytics with just about any marketing automation tool that can do a task that's known as trigger a webhook. So we can create a generic webhook to send out a postcard or a letter to virtually anybody by taking the webhook URL that our software generates, drop it into your automation tool, and do a little bit of authentication, and you're on your way without even having to go to the full API or a full direct integration. So, that integration piece for us is such a critical part of our growth plan, because at the core of our value proposition, I mentioned speed, integration, analytics. That integration piece has been such a huge missing element for direct mail over the years. It's traditionally been this fairly manual process that hangs on the side of a marketing team, run by an agency or a print shop. It involves files and spreadsheets that are completely disconnected from the core CRM, the core data. That core first-party data you're talking about is so valuable. Why not leverage it? Why not use it? Instead, traditional direct mail makes you export it out, makes you buy lists from third parties. It's so much more powerful to use direct mail as a piece of a puzzle instead of a separate thing. And that's really what we're trying to do with our whole integration strategy.
I love it, and you rightly point out, historically, whenever I've been involved with brands that have wanted to do direct mail, it's a case of their marketing automation platform or their CRM or perhaps their segmentation tool, their CDP, whatever, having to spit out, say, for example, a CSV segment, which will have the email address or the physical address of the recipients, the list of recipients that goes into a CSV, and then it gets dumped onto the an SFTP server of the mail house or whatever the case may be. And then, with the date that this is due to be sent and maybe with some key campaign information associated with that. And then the creative is sent separately, maybe via email or something like that to the mail house that gets incorporated into that particular campaign with a code that perhaps links the CSV to the particular campaign asset. So it's an interesting thing that you raised, that effectively you've tried to create an end-to-end platform that removes all of that pain, and it starts to link together with more traditional digital technology. It's starting to bring all that together, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got it. That's exactly it. So, one of the big problems, as you mentioned in that discussion of kind of the traditional workflow, is that the creative is typically built by a graphic designer or somebody using a tool, and high-res PDFs get generated. They get sent out to a print shop. A human has to work at the print shop and take a sample of the data that is being used to build a campaign, merge it with the creative on a very, very expensive piece of equipment, do a very, very short run to produce some samples of what the merged data will look like if you're doing any kind of personalization. And then those samples get shipped back to the marketing team. They're looked at, and there might be some changes, some tweaks. New data file goes over, new creative goes over, new pre-press operator sits there, puts it together, sends it back again for approval. This process is just a killer. So what we've done, we've actually created HTML direct mail. So you actually work in our editor and build HTML templates. You drag and drop, you drop in merge tag variables, you create dynamic content blocks to show different images and different text and different segments of your audience. You merge it with a list right through our software. You press proof, and it generates all those high-res PDFs right there in front of you in 30 seconds, as opposed to this multi-week process that often happens back and forth between marketing teams, data teams, graphic designers, and printers. We've collapsed all that and made the process look and act and feel just like email marketing.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, in terms of the visual editor and the workflow editor, it sounds like you're taking a page directly out of the marketing automation handbook, so to speak, and taking a page out of that industry's workflows. And then on the back side of that, I'm guessing that you guys not only do the production of the physical mail, but also the sending of the physical mail. Or is that something where you're integrated with services that provide that last mile, let's call it the last mile portion of production and delivery? Or do you guys do all that in-house and you've got the relationships with those providers that you work through?
Yeah, that's another great question. That's a big part of the value proposition. So what we've done is we've contracted what we call our print and mail partners that are currently all over the US. And so what happens on the backside is you send a campaign, I send a campaign, dozens of other people send a campaign over the course of a few hours. What we're doing is we're generating all of this HTML, we're turning it into these high-res PDFs, and then we are funneling it out to our print partners that are distributed around the country here in the States. These print partners that have contractual obligations to us to turn that mail around within 2 business days and get it into the post office's mail stream. They pick it up from there. And what we're doing, though, is we're actually providing a dashboard for marketers to be able to see exactly where their mail is in the production process. We've done very deep integrations with these mail partners. So we're getting events that are sent back into our dashboards. You can see exactly where each piece of the mail is in the production process. And then from there, when it gets dropped off into the post office's mail stream, every piece of mail here in the States is being assigned what is known as an intelligent mail barcode. And so that piece of mail is getting scanned as it moves around the country into various distribution centers and finally out for delivery. And so all those events are being captured in the dashboard. So you actually know the status of every single piece of mail in near real time. We're able to take that data and sync it back into your CRM or marketing automation tool or CDP so that you can trigger then other steps of a multi-channel marketing program based on the delivery of a piece of direct mail, based on, let's say, a bad address is discovered by the Postal Service. So you get a return to sender scan. Well, it used to be you'd have to wait for the mail to get returned to you and then have somebody manually go update your addresses. Well, now we have that data digitally, and it works just like a bounce with an email marketing tool. So we've got all sorts of data that is being captured during that production process that we're working with, the top tier print and mail facilities around the States on today. And we're about to launch in Canada in Q4 of this year. And then we're going to continue to expand internationally in 2022.
Sounds like you've effectively come up with track and trace for direct mail.
You got it. And again, email marketing was really the inspiration there. If you think about how many folks are out there and are super adept at email marketing, what types of metrics are they accustomed to seeing? Well, they want to know how much of the mail is being delivered. Deliverability is a huge part of the equation. Same thing with direct mail. It's a piece of content merged with personalization data. It's being sent to an address, happens to be a physical address instead of an email address. We need to know if that got there. We need to know where it is in the process. Having that transparency and that visibility into where things are is, as I mentioned, analytics is the third leg of our value proposition. Super important part of it all.
Wow, love this. And I've literally never heard of anyone doing exactly what you do, how you do it, at least in ANZ. Do you have any other competitors that you're aware of? You don't have to obviously say their names, but are you aware of anyone, even in North America, that's creating or trying to create this end-to-end direct mail service like you guys have, or is it pretty much completely blue ocean stuff for you guys?
Well, there are a couple of folks, a couple of other companies that are out there doing similar types of things, maybe not the same way that we're doing it and to the extent that we are building out this end-to-end software. There are some other companies out there that have APIs, for example, that you can send to, and it's just sort of a raw API. We'll then be able to take a bunch of HTML and turn that into a piece of mail. Several companies that have gotten into kind of the gifting and swag business. So you can have your CRM or marketing automation tool or CDP trigger a gift to be sent to somebody. But this idea of combining all of the elements of email marketing and turning it into a physical mail piece is really a unique thing that only we are focused on as far as we know.
I mean, that is kind of almost like the holy grail of technology, right? Finding a space where you see a big gap, you go, man, we feel like we've got the solution for this. Yes, we've got to build it, and yes, we've got to integrate it, and yes, we've got to, advertise it and get the word out that this thing even exists. But, how did you even hit on this? How did you decide to pivot after 4 years of focusing on, email marketing automation? How did you guys identify this gap in the market and decide to run headlong at it?
Well, it's a great question. And I think you may have mentioned in the very beginning, we started life out with a different product, with a different company name, and we were called BoingNet. And, essentially what we built with BoingNet were some tools that we were selling to the existing direct mail ecosystem. So we were selling BoingNet to customers that were large brands that had, direct mail marketing departments. We were selling to print service providers who were moving up the value chain and offering marketing services to their clients to do more multi-channel campaigns to do email and text messaging, and as well as using some measurement tools that we had built for direct mail response. BoyNet was a great product. We built it for several years, sold it. Along the way, Jason, we had customers come to us and say, hey guys, you're kind of living in this hybrid world between direct mail and digital. Is there some way you could help us unlock what we've got set up in our HubSpot or in our Salesforce and help us make it easier to send mail? After 3 or 4 of those conversations, my partner Alec and I looked at each other and we said, what are we doing? There are so many more of these people out there that are, huge email marketers that maybe want to try direct mail, but they don't want to go through the old hassles of the whole process. And they want to, like they're telling us, they want to leverage what they've invested in already and make direct mail easy. And so it was really a light bulb moment after I think our 3rd or 4th conversation that we started talking, and then we just realized that the number of marketers out there that are investing in CRM, marketing automation, e-commerce platforms, all these tools are vastly outnumbering the target audience of our initial BoyNet product. And so we say, you know what, we can take a lot of what we've built, a lot of the concepts, a lot of the things we've mastered with BoyNet, repackage it, come out with a new product, really grow this thing much more quickly. And so that's really kind of the pivot that we did a couple of years ago that, is now really starting to pay off for us.
That's brilliant to hear. And for you guys, do the mailing houses, like these traditional, direct mail houses that are primarily print firms that offer that direct mail service, maybe as an adjunct to their print service, do they see you guys as a threat, or do they see you guys more as an enabler that can funnel them more business in a more automated fashion, instead of them having to deal with 100 different clients and engage in 100 different ways and try to shunt them, all those 100 different customers in the way that they would traditionally like to work versus the way the mail house would like to work, and trying to marry the two? Or do they see you as that essential plumbing that now can automate a whole lot of that pain and bring them a whole lot more work in a more automated fashion for them too?
When we first came out, we were definitely viewed as kind of in a hostile way, and a lot of the traditional print folks thought that this was really a threat. What's happening in that world is that the volumes of traditional direct mail have been dropping, as we mentioned before, and there's a lot of excess capacity. They can work with us, and we can provide them with daily volume that is highly automated, keep those presses running. Then that's super important to our print partners, because the print partners out there are working with big technology companies like HP and Xerox, Toshiba, Ricoh to install these multi-million-dollar commercial print machines that are, incredible pieces of equipment, but they're super expensive and they're often leased. Those things need to operate in order to pay for themselves. We enable that. We're helping them with their business model as, kind of the role of traditional direct mail is declining. Our volumes are exploding and helping to pick up some of that slack.
Yeah, they must love you for it now. And, it's always sometime, when new things hit the market, they are often perceived as a threat. E-commerce was perceived as a threat for many traditional and brick and mortar businesses, and now it's an essential channel, particularly with COVID and so many stores having to be closed. Have you seen a positive COVID impact on your market? I mean, just speaking for myself, operating as a consultant down in ANZ, 2020 was one of the busiest years. In fact, the busiest year in my 20-year career in this industry, and 2021 is already, shaping up to be even busier yet again. And COVID is largely responsible for that, and just putting a rocket ship under anything related to e-com and omnichannel. Have you seen the same? Has it poured fuel on your fire? And then the second question I would put on the back of that is the mailing that most of your technology is facilitating. Are the recipients being created, the segments being created, and the delivery addresses of this direct mail being provided by the merchants themselves? Or is it a combination of that also being augmented by mailing, opt-in mailing lists that you guys have at your disposal that can be matched with the target market of those merchants?
It's funny when COVID hit, we had a lot of customers who had signed up, say late Q4 or Q1, all of a sudden say, hey, guys, we're just pausing everything new, stop. We took a bit of a hit initially. And, at that point, about 50% of our volume was being sent to via B2B mailers. And so all of a sudden, nobody's in the office. Doesn't make a lot of sense to send mail to the empty office. And so we did see a hit in the beginning of COVID. And then, after a month or two, all of a sudden, the consumer side of the house, our B2C companies that we work with, really figured out, hey, everybody's at home. Why am I not targeting the home mailbox with offers and, specials and why am I not incorporating that into my overall multi-channel strategy? So that drop in B2B mailings ended up getting really picked up and ran with the B2C side. So while the mix of our mail shifted because of COVID, we ended up having tremendous growth because of some of those core things I mentioned before. For folks that are doing B2C mailing, people are at home, right? They're kind of a captive audience. And now you've got a way to log in from somewhere, build entire campaigns right through the cloud without having to go to the office, without having to have meetings with sales reps from print companies, without having to do all sorts of manual steps. So for people who are working from home, it became a much faster, easier way to conduct business. At the end of the day, I hate to say COVID was a positive because it's certainly been not been a positive for anybody, but for our overall business and our volume, it really helped accelerate our growth, particularly on the B2C side. That was the first part of your question. Remind me again, what was the second part?
In terms of recipients, is this always driven by the merchants that you work with or the businesses that you work with, if they're B2B, for example, or is it a combination of that combined with opt-in mailing lists that you guys have access to that can augment their mailing lists for, on a campaign by campaign basis based on segmentation that they drive into you?
We offer both methods of sending mail, right? So you can take all that first party data that you've captured and use your automation tools to send mail through Postalytics. And then we also offer an ability to, we can help you attain opt-in mailing lists from third-party data companies. If you're looking for a specialty list of, people who are have a particular set of interests or have identified as potential candidates for political mail or for purchasing behavior that you want to tap into, there are third-party mailing lists that we can connect you with. They can get dropped right into Postalytics and enable you to reach those audiences, in a matter of minutes. So we work with customers on a case-by-case basis to really see what they need, and we help them connect the data that helps them reach their proper audience.
So it's almost like with Facebook where you can send them a whole quart of data and then they build a lookalike audience off the backside of that. You guys are getting dangerously close to being able to do almost exactly the same thing, but with direct mail instead.
Yeah. And we actually do have some data partners that are able to build lookalike audiences, believe it or not, of physical addresses. While we're not in that business ourselves, very much entrenched in that world. So we're able to connect the dots and help our customers get to the best experts to provide, those types of data sets.
Brilliant. And what are some of the most interesting use cases, I guess, that you've seen in terms of either workflows and using you guys as a component or one stop in a given workflow? What are some of the most interesting use cases you've come across, particularly for e-commerce and omnichannel merchants? What are some of the really super interesting use cases that you're seeing in the market that are either gaining traction now because they're kind of part of almost like a standard playbook that you guys offer to the market or recommend, or you're just seeing this is an emerging trend that is starting to take shape amongst your customers that you say, man, this is really clever and this is working really well?
Just stepping back, direct mail has traditionally been used as primarily a lead generation, top of the funnel type of activity. In the old days, an agency would come and work with you to say, all right, I'm going to go We're going to go find, some mailing lists. We're going to rent. We're going to build some creative. We're going to work with a print partner. We're going to put this whole thing together to, drum up business for you, drive, leads, drive calls to your call center, these types of things. And direct mail's been effective at that for a long time, continues to be effective to help build lead generation programs. What's new and what's I think is super interesting is now that you can use automation to send a single piece of mail to a person that is 100% personalized, just like you would with an email. All of a sudden, you can access all sorts of new use cases. What's really interesting is that now, through the use of Postalytics, our customers are utilizing direct mail far deeper in the funnel. They're using direct mail to nurture leads. They're using direct mail to help close deals, post-sale activities. So you mentioned the thank you letter after an order. The most interesting, from my perspective, going back to the kind of notion of using direct mail with email, from a multi-channel e-commerce marketer's perspective, what's going on in your email marketing channel? Are your open rates going up? Or are they going down? What's happening over time with your audience? And most of our customers that ask themselves those questions realize the effectiveness of every single piece of email that I send is kind of declining. It's been declining over time. So why not use automation to target people who have fallen out, who have kind of gone quiet on email? We've got like a great customer I'm thinking of right now. It's an e-commerce company that sells equipment to gyms and workout facilities and all sorts of fitness centers around the States. They have 30,000 SKUs. Really, it's an e-commerce shop that sells exclusively to this segment. What they realized was that their existing win-back campaign that was email only was targeting people that hadn't placed an order in 6 months. That campaign's results were declining over time. And so what they decided to do is say, all right, well, in that existing campaign, if we've got people that haven't opened 3 emails in a row, we're going to drop them into a direct mail sequence to try to wake them back up, try to get them back online. And so they use Postalytics to send out these oversized postcards with great offers to these very segmented and targeted people after they stopped responding to email. And what they found at the end of a 6-month process is that the Postalytics addition, sending those postcards out to try to get people to re-engage and come back to email, led to a 500% increase in the ROI of that existing email-based win-back campaign. So huge win, and it makes perfect sense. Email is a less expensive channel on a per message basis for obvious reasons. But if your customers are ignoring it, then try to get them back using another channel. And once you've got them back, drop them out of the direct mail channel, put them back in email. Once you've got them re-engaged, then use the less expensive channel. So it's use cases like that, Jason, that I think are like super interesting and are totally new territory for direct mail marketing.
And I'm guessing that, and you can validate this, some of the smartest brands in the world are already starting to look at other channels, like you said, like SMS marketing, for example, to start to break up some of those marketing automation flows that people are almost immune to now. You referred to email marketing and, email fatigue, and, brands are overusing email because it's cheap, because it's easy, because it's targeted. But they're seeing, high unsubscribe rates, they're seeing lack of delivery, they're seeing low open rates, they're seeing low engagement rates. And as a result of that, as you rightly point out, what brands are doing is they're starting to get smarter about automatic suppression, right? And they're saying, hey, well, if a customer hasn't opened an email, the last, 3 or 4 or 5 emails we've sent, they haven't even opened it, or, now with open rate tracking being, coming under fire and coming under question, if they haven't at least clicked through, if they haven't, taken an action on the backside of that we can detect, and they certainly haven't made a purchase off the backside of that, then we're going to suppress them, and we're going to suppress them for a window of time, whether that be we're going to skip the next 5 email sends, or we're going to suppress them for a month or 2 months or 3 months. They put them into suppression work streams simply so that they don't get exploding unsubscribes, right? The dynamic suppression is designed to minimize the rate of unsubscribes for people that are just simply not engaged with email for whatever reason. Now, what we're seeing already is some smart brands are starting to diversify those contact streams and introduce SMS marketing in a highly targeted, segmented, low touch way, meaning low frequency, but it's starting to break up their email flows, and they're seeing really good success with that, right? And I'm guessing that the smartest brands that you work with use perhaps a blend of email marketing, direct mail, SMS marketing, where the customer has obviously opted into to do this. They're breaking it up even further by segmenting out the channels that they will use, even just pure contact touch points. They're diversifying that so that the email fatigue just doesn't ratchet right up. Is that something you're seeing as well? A blending of these contact channels across direct mail, SMS, email, and other contact channels?
There's no question. There's no question. And we think that is really a big driver of our growth. We're not trying to solve the problems of all those other channels. What we're seeing is that our solution, Postalytics, is being plugged in at the same time as some of these SMS marketing tools under that guise, right? Under that idea of, hey, we need to break up these email-centric flows that are overwhelming people, and we need to, find out the channels that people prefer to interact with us on. And, one of the things that some marketers have come to the conclusion is that, just because somebody unsubscribes from email does not mean that they don't want to hear from you. It just means that their email inbox is overwhelming. They can't deal with your emails. So you can try other channels, and you can use all of that technology you've built to create those email flows to power direct mail, to power text messaging. And it can augment your infrastructure you've created. It can augment your digital strategies, and it can all flow together in those core marketing automation tools where all of these workflows are constructed.
Love it. Now, two other questions that immediately leap to mind. How do you make your money? How do you charge? How do you engage with your customers, and how do they pay you for what you do, being a SaaS platform? And then secondarily, what are the next markets, regional markets? You've already mentioned Canada, but what's kind of the highest regional markets on your hit list to take over next after obviously United States and Canada?
Great. Yeah. So we make money through two different ways. Part of what we decided to do with Postalytics is add a SaaS element to direct mail, but also to add what we call a product-led growth model. We've created a whole lot of software that you can log into and use for free. So what we've done is we've created a model where marketers that find Postalytics, they can sign up, they can integrate Postalytics with their marketing tech infrastructure, they can build campaigns, and they don't have to pay us a penny. And then when they send mail, we charge per piece of mail that is sent. And so you can work through an evaluation process. You can send, small campaigns to test things out. You can use Postalytics and not pay us any SaaS fees at all. Just pay for what you're using. And then once you're ready to scale up, you can upgrade your account from a free account into a subscription. And from that point, you get assigned a client success manager. You get access to more, in-depth enterprise-like features. You get lower per piece fees. As companies scale up, their cost per piece goes down, and there's a SaaS element that comes into play. And that's how we make our money.
Absolutely love it. That's, effectively you've kind of taken a page out of that marketing automation platform playbook, which is, hey, we're going to provide you this platform for free where you can create your workflows, you can create your segments, you can do all these things like a Klaviyo, but we're going to charge you for all the email that you actually send using our platform. So really smart model that I think most marketers understand. It's a pay for use platform. It's a pay as you go platform, which makes a lot of sense. And then obviously once you become embedded and you become intrinsic to a marketer's toolbox, then obviously they will oftentimes want to move up that enterprise tier and get more services, get a wider range of services, and then also save themselves, as you say, on a per send basis. Now, again, what are the markets that you're seeing are really hot for this service and are ripe for the picking in terms of They've got the mail infrastructure there. They've got the mail tracking infrastructure in place, and there's a national mail carrier that can perhaps help with this, as well as sufficient, I guess, local mailing partner infrastructure in place to be able to roll this out in a similar fashion and using a similar model to what you've done in the United States. Obviously, Canada's next cab off the rank. Have you looked at ANZ? Have you looked at Australia, New Zealand? Have you looked at the UK? What are the other big, and presumably you'd start with the English-speaking markets because that's your home language, and that makes a lot of sense. What are some of the other markets that are low-hanging fruit from your perspective?
Yeah, you're 100% right. The Canada thing is really exciting for us. We have a lot of customers who are currently marketing on both sides of the border, and both they're Canadian firms that are using Postalytics to mail to the U.S., and then we have a lot of U.S. companies that have a lot of customers in Canada, and so this idea of being able to build one campaign that can serve two countries through multiple print providers and multiple postal services is really cool. Like it's never existed before. So we're really excited to roll this out as we are building all this plumbing to be able to distribute and route to different countries, work with local print partners on the same campaign across, different currencies and different postal services. All that infrastructure we're building for Canada is going to allow us to roll out to other countries more quickly afterward. Clearly, the next country that has indicated the most interest in Postalytics is the UK. And we have a lot of customers who have been lobbying in and saying, hey, as soon as you're ready in the UK, let's roll. This is super exciting. So UK will be next after Canada, and then from there, we do have a pretty good number of Australian and New Zealand based companies that have reached out to us, as well as other parts of the EU. We have Germany and France, Italy, Spain. Those are big potential markets for us. We'll be building out support for all of these different countries and time zones and infrastructure on the back end throughout 2022. After we knock off Canada, UK will be next, and then we'll kind of go from there as we roll through the rest of 2022.
Wow, super pumped for you guys. One final question as we sort of come to the close of our time together, and I really appreciate your time and appreciate the insights you've given me into the industry and what the opportunity looks like for marketers and brands and what services you bring to the table. It's been really super insightful. There's been this mad rush of VC capital and PE capital into anything related to e-commerce and omnichannel. I'm sure you've seen the purchase of MailChimp, for billions of dollars. We've seen mass mergers and acquisitions and buyouts. We've seen venture capital in the billions being thrown at anything related, even a whiff of e-commerce associated with it. This year, in particular, in 2021, it's almost like VC has reached a fever pitch in relation to e-com. Are you guys still bootstrapped? Do you guys have investors? Do you have VC? Are you looking to go to the VC markets while the capital markets are running hot? What is sort of your growth strategy? Is it all bootstrapped, or hey, look, yep, we're looking to maybe go to market for VC capital, or looking to go IPO, or what is kind of your growth planning? If you've got something that you can share, some of this may be commercially sensitive, and I understand that, but we're looking at a lot of these businesses that historically have been bootstrapped and before pre-COVID, they may have continued to look to bootstrap themselves and rely on organic growth, but now they're seeing, hey, there's the capital markets are just awash with money for anything related to e-com. So hey, yeah, we're gonna actually go to the capital markets. We're gonna accelerate our growth on the backside of that. What does your future look like from your perspective in terms of investment, capital? Because obviously this is a somewhat capital intensive business. Sure, you don't own the print houses. You're almost like Airbnb. You don't own the print houses or anything like that, but you are building out the infrastructure. You're building out the integrations. You're building out the software, and that has a capital cost associated with it. So what does your growth planning look like for you guys over the next, say, 24 months?
Yeah, definitely. And I can't share exact numbers, but I can definitely share the strategy. So, to date, we have been bootstrapped, and, we've been very fortunate to have been able to grow very quickly, without any outside capital. We will be adjusting our financing strategy as really our ability to serve our markets dictates. And so this is my sixth startup that I've been involved in. One of the things that I've kind of come to the conclusion is that it makes sense for a business to build their business and to finance just enough, just as much as needed. And if you build a great business, then people are going to want to buy your stock. And sometimes you might sell a little bit of your stock. Sometimes you might sell all your stock. But the real focus needs to be around building a great sustainable business using as little capital as possible to do that. And so that's what we've done to date. That may change, as we continue to grow. We may run into, opportunities that would require us to, grow at a more exponential rate than what we've already grown at. And we might take some capital at that point. There's also been a lot of growth in debt-based tools that are far more flexible and easily accessed than kind of traditional bank financing. And so there are a lot of different ways that startups can now finance their growth. And so we're not searching for venture capital right now or PE money, but that may change down the road.
Makes sense. I mean, obviously you could go the equity crowdfunding route. You could go the more traditional VC route outside of the banking system, which would probably be more favorable to you guys as a startup. Not really a startup. I mean, you're technically about 8 years old now, so I guess you're outside of you're more at the adolescent stage than the startup stage now. But look, it's super exciting time, and I'm really glad that we got connected to talk about this, because I think it's an ongoing discussion that every brand is going to have to seriously consider, because email has been so overused and I would say abused in many respects by brands over the years. And it's losing its sting, it's losing its effectiveness. And I think that anything a brand can do to diversify their communication and contact channels with customers, to differentiate that experience on a per customer basis based on the feedback loop that's being created with that customer, that has got to be the way forward. It has to be. The value of email, because it's so cheap, the value of email is also dropping, and the value of email to the customer and the value of email to the brand. And so I think you've done a smart thing. It's a really novel idea. I as I said, I'm not aware of anyone else doing exactly what you're doing, how you're doing it. And that's really exciting to me, because you are effectively taking what is a very legacy idea, a very legacy concept, a very legacy channel, and you are moving it into and turning it into and automating it and turning it into a much more digital focused channel and a digitally ready and digitally enabled channel. And that's a very exciting thing. So, congratulations on doing what you've done. Congratulations on being bootstrapped. I think brands oftentimes and companies, particularly SaaS companies, take on capital way too early, dilutes the value of the company to the founders. And I totally agree with you. I think if you don't need to take on capital, then don't do it. But there is a lot of capital out there if you do want to grow faster and you do have opportunities, as you say, that you can't swallow whole without taking on some capital, then that opportunity is there as well. So congratulations on getting to where you are and building out a really, really unique product as far as I'm concerned. If customers and potential customers and, investors or whatever want to get a hold of you and your company, is it best to come through you directly? And what's the best channel for that? Or are they best to just go through postalytics.com and go that route?
Well, first, thanks for all those kind words. We are really proud of what we've built. We're excited. We've got a great team. People have been working very hard for a long time, and it's really satisfying to see the fruits of that labor and with lots of happy customers and lots of growth. So very much appreciate the compliment. And yeah, I am one of my favorite parts of my day is when I can talk to a customer or a prospect, somebody on the outside. As a bootstrap startup, I'm involved in everything under the sun. And so if I can pick my head up and have a conversation with somebody about our product, about our company, I'm thrilled to do that. So you can reach me at dennis@postalytics.com. You can go through the website, hit me up on LinkedIn. I love talking to people. So don't hesitate to reach out. And I'll look forward to connecting with anybody that would like to talk about Postalytics, talk about marketing tech. That's what I do. So thank you so much.
Cheers, Dennis. That sounds fantastic. And look, we'll look to maybe get you on in another 12 months and see if ANZ has moved up on your radar, on your hit list of countries to hit next with Postalytics. Thanks again for your time, and we'll chat again soon, mate. Thanks for listening to the At the Coalface podcast. If you want more At the Coalface, you can subscribe to our premium e-commerce and digital newsletter, At the Coalface Digest.